Now, perhaps amazingly, we can put Pascal's line of reasoning in similar terms. That is to say, Pascal, and I'm sure you've heard this thought before, that somebody might have told you you should be a theist not because they can prove to you that a GCB exists, but rather because they say, well, you want to hedge your bets. How can we formulate that thought? We can formulate that thought in terms of the act-state-outcome methodology that we just described. So now our acts are, let's put things simply now, we can fine-grain later if we need to. Our acts are believe in the GCB or don't believe in the GCB. And when I say don't believe in the GCB, that includes both agnosticism and atheism. And the possible states of the world for now are just going to be the GCB exists and the GCB does not exist. Well, what are the outcomes? Well, the outcome in a situation in which I believe in a GCB, that is, I'm a theist, and a GCB does exist, is presumably something like eternal reward. At least if I'm a decent person in the course of my being a theist, then I will be likely to have an eternal reward, some kind of infinite life in heaven or something of the kind. Whereas if I believe in the GCB and the GCB does not exist, well, Pascal says maybe you've had some piety that was wasted. But some theists will say even in that situation, you will have been forced or at least prodded to live a moral life. You'll have been on the up and up. You'll have lived with a certain amount of fear of God, for example. That might have made you a better person. That's an outcome, one way of thinking about the outcome there. What about a situation in which I choose not to believe in a GCB, either because of atheism or agnosticism, and the GCB does exist? Well, my Sundays are free, or whatever days I might have spent worshiping. But I also have the small problem of eternal damnation, which is kind of a bad outcome, many will say. How about a situation in which the GCB does not exist and I'm not a theist? Well, I'm being a little bit facetious here. Free Sundays or free up whatever time you would have otherwise spent being a theist, but no punishment. That is to say, presumably you don't experience an eternal damnation or anything of the kind. So far we've got qualitative outcomes. Now can we follow the act-state-outcome method in order to make them something more quantitative? Well, let's try. You've got to decide what your numbers are. I'm going to perhaps arbitrarily say that, let's just play along with Pascal for a little bit now. If I'm a theist and the GCB does exist after all, then presumably I get the eternal reward, heaven forever, and let's let that number, the outcome, the value that I rank that outcome at as being 10,000. That's pretty high. Whereas if I believe in the GCB and the GCB does not exist, well, I had some wasted piety, but it's not absolutely terrible. Maybe I'll value that as 50. Down at the bottom row, if I don't believe in the GCB and the GCB does not exist, well, my Sundays are free, but I don't experience any punishment. Let's give that 100. And if I don't believe in GCB and the GCB does exist, well, that's very bad. Perhaps my Sundays are free, but I experience eternal damnation. That's a very bad outcome. But Pascal, as well as anybody thinking about the act-state-outcome methodology for decision-making, is going to say it's not enough just to think about these. We, of course, have to think about the probabilities of these different states of the world. And where the power of Pascal's reasoning comes in here when he says, look, even if there's only a 1% chance that there is a GCB, and a 99% chance, of course, that the GCB does not exist, look what happens. Multiply these things through. You will see that 10,000 times 0.01 is going to be 100. 50 times 0.99 is going to be 49.5. And so your expected utility for theism, that is belief in the GCB, is 149.5, whereas your expected utility, multiply and add, for the bottom row is going to be merely 99.01. That's a pretty big margin. So look what Pascal can say now. He can say, even if there's only a 1% chance that there is a GCB, it's still in your best interest, practically rational, to be a theist. And he's going to say, therefore, that's reason to be a believer, even if I can't give you proof by means of theoretical rationality, even if I can't give you a cosmological or an ontological or an argument from design, still it's reasonable to believe you're going to eventually find the demise of your physical body, and there's a small, non-zero chance that there's a GCB that exists there to judge you on Judgment Day. Isn't Pascal going to say, isn't it reasonable to be a believer because of the probabilities and values you assign to the various outcomes, practical rationality says, be a theist.